Good morning. Holy crap, can you observe something here? What's missing? It's so warm. It's meant to be winter, but it's like a hit of summer, and the next couple of days is going to get to 17, 18, 19 degrees on New Year's Eve. This time of the year is meant to be for riding out in bleak weather, and whilst it's not blue sky, let me show you what it looks like today. Phew! A little bit of cloud around, but it is warm. So I've got the road bike ready to go. Going to do a nice little loop today. Feeling good? Here we go. Well, today has definitely been a day where that sign there, my least favourite sign as a bike rider, has applied. Oh, it's windy, but it's also warm, so, you know, can you really complain? I'm not sure. It's been one of those days where the form has been good in one direction and it's been a block headwind in the other. But as per usual, great scenery. And as an update for my ultra-cycling, as much as I hate riding in windy weather, I'm really going to have to just grin and bear it and do it a lot, because Normandy is windy. Big weather systems move in off the Atlantic. It's going to be inevitable that I'm going to have some nasty headwind sections. It'd be great if I had a tailwind the whole time. That's never happened. It's definitely been one of those rides where you just cannot take one hand off the handlebars. You've got to sort of grip on around every corner. There's big wind farms in this area and you can really see why. It just funnels around in really big gusts. I think the other side of the Pyrenees this week has had wind gusts of like 90 odd kilometres in like the city, so up in the mountains it'll be worse. You can see here, beautiful rolling countryside terrain. So I'm thinking this is really good terrain for me to train on, because it's up and down and up and down and up and down, so it sort of doesn't allow you just to get into one real long regular rhythm. It's pretty specky though, isn't it? And you can see all these new crops coming along. Only a few weeks ago, that area there with all the trees was beautiful with the autumn colours. But it's been another week for me since I've signed up for the Normandy Cat 900. So I've had lots of time to be stressed and anxious in my head and up in the night thinking of all different scenarios. The latest thing that I'm thinking about is exactly what sort of bike I'm going to be using for this, and obviously my road bike, I absolutely love it, but it is a rim brake bike, and you know, in the eventuality that, you know, potentially we have really bad weather, I have to be realistic and think that maybe riding the gravel bike that has disc brakes on it might be better. So that's something to think about. The other thing I discovered this week is that the very first riding day for the Normandy Cat, the very first riding day is a public holiday here in France. Oh man, that adds an extra layer of complexity, doesn't it? So windy! Yeah, but it's warm, so we'll take it. Just climbing up through the beautiful avenue here. This section I love. Never gets old. This wind though, boy, it could give me a break, couldn't it? Okay, we'll just pull in. Take a little rest. Lovely. Some bike riders heading all the way around here. Ooh. So yes, finding out that first day is a public holiday, what it really means is I'm going to have to really think about where I'm going to get food and water from. Because unlike Australia, on public holidays here in France, the supermarkets really observe it. It's not something that you can expect everything to be open. It's not that case at all. Wow, mountains. You know me, people. I love a mountain. So yes, now I have done my first draft of planning out a route, and the other thing that's going to be important for me to figure out is which direction will I go in. So it is a circle, because crisscrossing, as much as I could do that, is just going to add so many kilometres, and what's the point of that, right? Connecting the 9 checkpoints seems to be just over 900 kilometres, and at the moment I think it's about 8,500 metres of climbing, and it may end up being more. The real big important thing that I'm going to have to do though is going to have to figure out where the fountains are in towns and for water refills. And someone's told me about this great app called Mountain Runner, or Open Runner I think it is, and it has listed all the public fountains. The only complexity though is, being COVID times, we've definitely noticed since we've been here in France that not all the public fountains are actually running in the towns, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, public fountains and toilets on this app, so that might be something that I run during the event. But oh my goodness, today is definitely going to be a great lesson in how to put up with the wind. Well, just a quick update. The weather has turned. Still warm, but the sunshine's all gone. It's been raining, it's blowing a gale. Just had a flat tyre. Thankfully, managed to get that pumped, not without the lovely Lezane pump doing its usual trick and leaking my tyre, or pulling out the valve core, which effectively deflates the whole tyre instantly. Anyway, I'm down here by the River Lure near a little village called Gaudies, Jordi, I'm not sure how the French pronounce it. It's beautiful, there'll be more water flowing through that, and yeah, I don't know, I've got about 10 or 12 kilometres left in a lovely gusty, gale-blown headwind with rain. So we would call this definitely dreek weather. Dreek, I think, is the Scottish way of holding this type of weather. But yeah, the wind is nasty. So anyway, let's get this done. See you guys. Well, that was mega. What turned out to be beautiful sunshine and warmth ended up being blowing gales, strong wind and pouring rain. Bonjour, 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 good morning. I thought I would do a vlog update that wasn't on the bike for once, just to show that I do more than just sit on my bike. I've just been to our local village and procured le pain pour aujourd'hui, today's bread. But yeah, it's a lovely viewing spot from where I am here, and you can see what I imagine are old ruins of, I don't know, an old bastide or fort of some sort. This concrete path is quite steep. I haven't walked it for a while because it has been pretty icy, but like yesterday, it's actually really, really warm. As I say here, il va faire assez chaud. It's going to be seriously warm. And today I think it's going to get to 18 degrees, 18 degrees, possibly 19 tomorrow as well, and also on New Year's Day. So it's crazy. Check out these mountains. Can you see them way out in the distance there? I'll see if I can zoom in. Yeah, so straight ahead there is peaks around the part of the Ariège in Saint-Giron. Pretty cool. So pretty much quite a lot of my days are now spent trying to work out my ultra cycling plans, which is, you know, all consuming. Like I said, the route planning is something that's really forefront of my mind at the moment, and trying to work out which direction I should try and link all these checkpoints up in As I mentioned earlier, it's an element, I think it's called like an alley cat style, or, you know, it's almost orienteering mixed in. People that know me well know that I'm not necessarily the most directionally astute person. I'm okay if I have to pay attention to things, but if I need to trace a map myself, I'm okay. And if I drive somewhere myself, I'm okay. But any other situation, as I often say, I merely arrive. So the other challenge that I'm finding at the moment as well is there's actually not that much information available about past events. Obviously this is an event that I'd never heard of before I'd signed up for it, and it's probably more well known in France, but I was hoping that I would be able to research someone's old blogs or something like that and get some really good details. I found 2, and look, maybe some of that is because the last 2 editions have actually not occurred because of COVID. But yeah, there's not much information out there, and in terms of trying to figure out whether I should make this circular route through Normandy clockwise or anti-clockwise, I'm just not sure. Beautiful view here. A few months ago that field there was all corn crops, and it's amazing how much more you now just see like a beautiful, right, out into the mountains. I'm often wondering how old these bricks are and this arch. And what was this little hole? And like over here, as I walk down, there's a couple of little huts there. I don't know what they're from. And then in here, was this like a jail? I don't know. But the bad people go, you might be able to fit in there, not sure. The mysteries of the village continue to the Anglais. It's always so quiet here. It's not that early, like it's after 9 o'clock. It's just the sound of birds. The old village bulldrome, petanque playing field. There's a massive one just a bit further down the road, which I think most people use. But yeah, each French village in this area has its own, which is quite interesting. So what I did manage to find out on these blogs was, well, at least from one of them, that the majority of riders seem to take the course on in a clockwise direction. Now, the prevailing winds, I imagine, and I still need to research this, along the Atlantic, go from across the country, across the top. So I imagine they run from west to east. So I guess maybe the theory running clockwise is that if you do that, that you should hopefully get a tailwind when you're the most fatigued. I'm not sure. It also means that one of the checkpoints you hit earlier will be Versailles, so perhaps heading down into the outskirts of Paris before you're really tired will be a good idea too. Gosh, there's so much to wrap my head around, isn't there? And this whole checkpoint thing too. I've never done any orienteering event before, so this will be my first. Be interesting. Beautiful small side street here. It's funny, these little lanes here, they always just remind me of Ireland, just because the roads are rough and tiny, but they're really quintessential for countryside in France as well. And you can see it's a dead-end road, only a few cars would go on it, but you can see just like, you know, there's grass growing up in the middle. 2 cars met on this, I'm not sure what would happen. So one blog I read, a gentleman took off and he actually decided to go anti-clockwise. And as I've mentioned, the race starts at 10 p.m. So he took off, all the riders are all together, and then everyone all of a sudden went one way and only 4 riders, including him, went another. So there were 4 people decided to go anti-clockwise in that field. And then he discovered 3 of them were going straight to the hotel room, so they actually weren't riding through the night. So he was pretty much on his own. And I think there is an element that I would want to not necessarily be riding the direction that most people aren't. I don't think it's safety in numbers. I don't expect help from people, but just that solidarity of knowing you might go and pass people and people might pass you and top and tail throughout. So I think that's a good idea too. That there's certainly the road less travelled, isn't it? I'm not sure if I don't think it's just a farm track. It could be. You know what else is going to be a real challenge for me? I know this sounds silly. I very much ride my bike to go and see beautiful things, and I really love taking photos of them. So doing a big ride where I have to really be conscious of the time taken, I'm not going to be able to stop and just, when I see something amazing, stop and take it in. So I think I'm going to have to do some practice rides where I don't allow myself to take a photo, which will be hard. I don't know. Any thoughts on how I might manage that problem? It's a little one, right? As I was saying earlier, I've never done a orienteering or alley cat style event where you need to link checkpoints. I love the idea. I do like the idea that the way that I let them know that I've reached the checkpoints is by actually taking a photo at the checkpoint and sending it through on a WhatsApp message. It's very high tech. But there will be spot trackers and GPS devices and stuff that will track my progress too. People could dot watch, I guess. I mean, I've done the first pass of putting the route together. I've got no idea if it's the best way. It's just over 900 kilometres, but I think about 8,500 metres of climbing. What I have learnt is that that number is always just a slight indication, and generally the climbing estimates on these mapping devices is less than what it actually really is in real life. So I expect a lot more than that. It's going to be tough, isn't it? It's sort of averaging about 1,000 metres of elevation for every 100 kilometres. Doesn't sound like much, but when you add nearly 9,000 metres in, I mean, that's higher than Everest. Higher than Everest in, 72 hours. What am I heading in for? Oh, geez. Every time I walk here, I always think, oh my gosh, I would hate to have to try and take this road on a bike. Have a look at this. Now, granted, nothing ever looks as steep on a camera as it is in real life. So just trust me, that grassy section of the road way up there, I'm not sure if I can zoom in, let's see. I think that would definitely be around 30%. Slippery leaves, grass, mud. You'd definitely not be doing this on a road bike, right? Imagine heading, and of course, as I've said, I'm way scared of going downhill. So I'm always like thinking, I'd try it uphill, but coming down it would be Anyway, steepest country lane that I have seen. Bonjour, out for a ride. Now, short sleeves because it's warm as blue sky as well. I'm in what I have labelled the driveway of dreams. Look at this, no doubt leads straight down towards a grand chateau. Not a bad place to be riding, and very quiet. I haven't really seen many people at all. But I thought another little vlog update. So this week I got in touch with my coach last week, and he's put me onto a training program called Nolio. It's a new one for me. The last year and a half I've uploaded all my training onto a platform called Today's Plan. So for those people in the know in terms of training with power, that's the platform I've used as opposed to Training Peak. Yeah, so I've been put onto Nolio, so a new training software to understand. And what I'm finding a little bit testing is, so he's uploaded 2 workouts for this week, and I thought, well, I'm trying maybe not doing the Rapper 500. So I thought, well, maybe I'll try, instead of doing them on the indoor trainer, especially because it's short leave weather, maybe I will try and do the workouts outside. I have power meter pedals on my bike. Let me show you. I've got the Favero Asioma duo, so dual-sided power meters, which is great. And I thought, well, I've got power meter numbers in front of me when I'm riding, maybe I'll do that. But I'm finding that the way that the road terrain is, up or down, and the direction of the wind really obviously makes a big difference on how much power the legs are putting out. So when you're trying to do intervals or stick to a workout plan, it's really difficult. I'm not sure whether anyone's got some tips for me, perhaps. Whether I am just cursed to ride indoors for these workouts and, outdoors is just longer rides, that's probably better. But speaking of outdoors, let me show you this again. It's just super. So the non-driveway of dreams, and then you can just imagine how expensive this chateau must be and how grand it must be. And there's part of me also that's wondering how practical or impractical is it to heat. You can see to walk around. Beautiful mountains straight out ahead. Maybe we'll call this the gravel bike driveway of dreams, huh? Doesn't look too bad either, does it? Anyway, so pretty much I went back to my coach and I said, hey, thanks for the 2 sessions. It's not that I don't want to do them, but it's so warm, I want to be riding outside. And this week I'm going to focus on doing the Rapid 500. I am doing it. And I'll start my training from next week on Monday. But I did ask him as well whether he had any tips for me in terms of being able to train to power outdoors. I found pretty much that if I'm on a climb, I can keep my power numbers in, you know, the threshold zone as required, which makes sense because you are working harder on a climb. But yeah, it's just staying in zone 3 or, you know, zone 4 or something is a bit tricky. Anyway, from the driveway of dreams, oh, never get sick of this view. And the bike of dreams. Actually, that is the other thing. I had an issue with my tyre on yesterday's ride when it was absolutely pouring with rain and I had a flat. But what I discovered was I'm running tubeless and I actually just didn't seal the tubeless puncture correctly. So a bit of work this morning and we're all good. Holding some nice air, which is fantastic. So another good thing to do now than in the event. Anyway, that's it for now. Gonna go out and enjoy the rest of this sunshine.